Ever get that feeling like something big's happening? Like a shift, you know?
Well, imagine a Saturday, not too long ago, where that feeling wasn't just in your neighborhood, it was everywhere. Cities, countries all over, it was like the whole world was buzzing, but not the usual holiday or, big game kind of vibe. It was different. People were out in the streets, and not just a few here and there, I mean,
No.
tons of them.
Yeah, a real global phenomena.
Exactly. And we're diving deep into this today. Huge public reaction to President Trump being back in the White House. And this wasn't just a few protests in D.C. or New York. We're talking Houston, L.A., Denver,
Even London, Berlin.
all over the place. So why were so many people out there, marching? What was driving this?
Well, when you look at it, a lot of it seems to come down to worries about the direction things are going. Concerns about the government and how it's working and the economy, of course. People feeling the pinch, especially with things like groceries costing more and more. And then those big questions about civil liberties under this new administration. Right, right. And everyone sees the headlines, but we wanted to go deeper, get a real sense of what it was like to be there. So we've got these firsthand accounts, observations from someone who was actually at these marches in a bunch of different cities. They weren't just watching it on TV, they were right there in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's always so valuable to hear directly from people who experienced it.
Yeah.
Get past the news reports and understand what the atmosphere was really like, what was motivating people to take action. So what were some of the things that stood out to you, from being on the ground like that?
Well, a few things really stick with me. In New York, I talked to this artist, Shayna Kesner. She was just so frustrated, really got the feeling it wasn't just disagreeing with the politics, it was deeper than that. Like real anxiety about where things were headed.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Then there was this woman, Diane Polifrath. She's a bike tour guide, get this, from New Hampshire, and she organized a whole group to travel all the way down to D.C. for the march.
Dedication.
Seriously. And for me, it really highlighted how this wasn't just about individuals feeling a certain way. It was about people coming together, organizing.
Right, it's both, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have the personal feelings and then the collective action. It's fascinating how that works.
Absolutely. And the visuals, at these marches, they were so powerful. I mean, in LA, seeing people dressed up like from The Handmaid's Tale, that was intense.
Yeah, that's a powerful image. Really gets across those concerns about, women's rights, control over their own bodies.
For sure. And sometimes it wasn't even that symbolic. In Denver, I saw a sign that just said, "No king for USA." So simple, but you know exactly what they meant.
Right, to the point, that fear of too much power in one person's hands. I mean, that goes way back to the founding of America, doesn't it?
Totally. And it wasn't just in the US either. I spoke to people in London and Berlin who were really paying attention, worried even. Liz Chamberlain in London, she talked about a possible global recession, if things went bad in the US economy. And Suzanne Fest in Berlin, she used the phrase constitutional crisis about the US.
Wow. Strong words.
I know, right? Really shows how what happens in America affects everyone, not just Americans.
Yeah, these days, everything's so interconnected. What one country does has ripple effects all over the world, especially when it's a big player like the U.S. economy, politics, the whole thing.
Definitely. And it wasn't just random people either. Groups like Move On and Women's March, they're coordinating stuff in over 1,000 cities.
1,000. That's amazing. Logistically, that's incredible. Shows how deep this feeling ran.
Absolutely. And when you look at what people were saying, what was on their signs, it wasn't just one single issue. It was like a bunch of worries all mixed together. People losing their jobs, prices going up because of those tariffs, feeling like basic freedoms were at risk.
Yeah, and some were even saying things are starting to look like,
Fascism.
Yeah, using those kind of words. Heavy stuff.
I mean, when you think about it, the sheer number of people who showed up, how it spanned all across the U.S. and even other countries, and how strongly people felt about all this, it feels like a really important moment. This wasn't just a small group of people. It was a huge response to, this administration being back in power.
Yeah, and you got to remember those individual stories, too. Shayna, Diane, the people you met in London, Berlin. Each one of them adds another layer to understanding why this happened.
And the effort to organize something this big on this scale, it just shows how much people felt they had to speak up, make their voices heard.
So what do you think it all means when this many people feel like they had to get out in the streets and make a statement? What does that tell us about, what's going on in society, what people are thinking and feeling?
That's the big question, isn't it? And for you listening, we want you to think about that too. All these worries we've been talking about, what do they say about this moment in history? And how are people choosing to react? It's more than just the headlines. What kind of lasting effects could these protests have? It's something to think about for sure.